know where I wanted to start today on Church of the West? We have so many of these claims incessantly, and we can explain exactly why there are such claims, why there are people who fervently believe that there is no victimization of white people. There is no persecution. There is no prosecution. There is no fleecing of the white race. We can tell you exactly why that happens. And we can also show you the evidence we do regularly here about the specific cases of our victimization. It's actually ubiquitous. It's actually omnipresent everywhere you go. So we can take a look at that right away. A couple of examples. And why do we show such examples? It's not just to get angry and stew and talk about how unfair it is, because that's what the loser schmucks, the anti-non-whites, do. No, we share these things so that you can take this into the battle of conversations where you use these stories as a catalyst to introduce the lexical and dialectical armory of Go Free, which you'll find out becomes the Go Free praxis in society. So we'll be talking about that a little later. You're not going to want to miss it, because we have so many of these people who claim that we didn't do what we did, and it's just everything. It's just happening magically. It doesn't happen magically. It is science. It is people. It is heroism. It is courage. It is intelligence. And it is the white race now entering the conflict, the battle of ideas on the moral plane where the battle is fought. You're not going to want to miss that. So stick around. There it is, ladies and gentlemen. That is the foundation for whitewellbeing.org. And that's the real one right there. You can see Radio White Wellbeing. You click that and awesome music will begin playing for you. You don't want to miss it. The Nameless One, and Sean is here. Cindy Ben is here. Sean was here like right away, and he's like, let's do this. Good to see you. Big salutes. Big salutes to you, good brother. Well, let's share this. This is our great biospirit of the West. And he's sharing in this tweet the systemic anti-whiteism and what exactly does it look like. Our educational institutions are required to be anti-white in order to operate. End all anti-whiteism for good. Brilliantly written. Well, let's take a look at this. Since 2009, according to this poster, says here, medical schools have had to prove that they sufficiently discriminate against white men. Now, that is magnificent by this content creator to craft the language this way. It's not that they have been required to prove that they are helping blacks and Hispanics, non-whites, women. It's that they have to prove. You see, the focus is on us. It changes everything to put the focus on us. They have to prove that they discriminate against white males. Achievement mission, appropriate diversity outcomes is what it's called. To get accredited, they have to prove that they discriminate against white males. You wonder, you go to the doctor's offices, you go to the emergency room, you get a stay in the hospital, and you wonder, where are all the white male doctors? Why are there so few? I guess white males just really weren't cut out for doctoring. I guess they don't really just want to be doctors. Maybe they're greedy and they're not making enough money as doctors. And now we have all of these better doctors, all of these women, all of these Indians, all of these Asians, all of these others. They're not there because the institutions where they would be educated, in order for those institutions to get accreditation, they have to discriminate against the white males in enrollment. They have to discriminate against them. The decline was not simply an organic demographic shift, nor can it be understood apart from the regulatory structure that governed medical education during this period, beginning in the late 2000s and early 2010s. Diversity goals. Now remember that diversity means white erasure. Always talk about it in this fashion. Were formally embedded into the national accreditation standards that medical schools and residency programs were required to satisfy in order to continue operating. Now, let me stop the poster right here, because we know that the moment they made it formal was the moment they weakened the anti-whiteism. This has been taking place for generations. This discrimination against the white male has been taking place for generations. The San Diego Medical School, for example, was before what they're talking about here. This has been happening for generations. They've been why? Because the social morality demanded it. The social morality demanded that the interpretation of the rules, or the interpretation of who gets into the school, incorporates this social morality of anti-whiteism, that white males they've had it good. They didn't build Western civilization. They are not actively Western civilization, which is, to be accurate, is to say what they actually are. White males are Western civilization. No, they've somehow acquired something. They've stolen something, and now they're all having it good, riding high. All white males are the richest of all white males. All white males are the best looking, are the healthiest, are the wealthiest, are the etc. most talented. They're all the exact same. And so the moral thing to do is to keep them out. Well, they'll figure it out, right? They'll figure it out somehow. They won't be admitted to the medical school. No, instead, they're going to bring in non-whites and women. This has been going on for generations. The reason why you see it finally formalized, and this is where so many cucks get it wrong, so many midwits get it wrong, is they think that once it's in writing, then that means it's legitimate. This is where the normal white brain fails so very often. They just don't understand, and they can't follow proper leadership. They think what's ever written down on the paper, that's the real thing. Just like they find that the maps are more real than the actual environment. This is a failing of the mind of Western kind. So they're looking for, well, when did this become formalized? It became formalized after generations of its application. That's how it finally got to the point of being formalized. So if you don't ask the right questions, you can't get to the right answers. If you think it was just the formalization in the 2000s, then you are inclined to ask questions that bring you to erroneous answers. Like, what exactly happened right then? Oh, someone was inducted into a position of power. Someone was appointed. Someone was elected. And so we have to go after those specific slots, and we have to have those specific county boards or medical boards decide from now on some. So we have to get on these boards. We have to make sure that the next person that gets elected to office that wants this kind of thing is not the kind of person that's going to want this. You see how you end up at the wrong answers when you don't have the right questions, and you don't have the right questions because you have the wrong understanding. Anti-whiteism has been in effect, in vogue, effectuating the discrimination and injury and victimization of our people for generations. That's why there have been fewer and fewer and fewer white male doctors. It finally reaches the point where they can write it down, which is the absolute weakness of it. Because you can see now the only administration, and we're going to be talking about this, the only administration to stand up for the white race at all is the Donald Trump administration, despite to hell with what all the taboo grifters would tell you about how it's been a terrible mistake and Donald Trump's just totally betrayed us. And it's bullshit. Anybody saying that kind of thing needs to find a roof and be bad at balance. That's what they need to do, because they are liars pouring wormwood and poison and rumors on the energy that we can be making use of in service to white well-being. They are acerbic. They are garbage. They are poison. Everybody say they're just mad because at root, their only agenda is to injure Jews. And people like that are sick. They're not for the well-being of white people. They are sick. Get a therapist. All right. And they're mad that he's not injuring Jews. And so they're going to ignore all the good. And there is infinite good that is happening from the Trump administration for white people everywhere we turn. We got 2 more years of this, folks. You are blowing it if you allow these vile little shits to make you think that everything is horrible today coming from the Trump administration. Man, you are an idiot, honestly. So let's continue. They finally formalized it, 2000s, and the diversity goals were for the white erasure was formally written into the standards of medical schools were required. Okay, in 2009, the Liaison Committee on the Medical Education, LCME, the accrediting body for U.S. medical schools, adopted standard, 3.3. Now, but I got to just also say this. If you go into the conversation about our victimization and you're only talking about the 2000s forward, you're going to be laughed out of the room. They're going to, Antiwhite is going to say to you, oh, well, you all have, it's been all for the good of you all for thousands of years. Don't make this error. Listen to what your hierarch has to say. Be intelligent for once if you're just coming to Church of the West. This 3.3 standard required institutions to, quote, achieve mission appropriate diversity outcomes among its students, close quote. So translate that for the effect on our people. So let's do that. It required, standard 3.3 required institutions to, quote, to achieve mission appropriate white and specifically white male erasure outcomes among its students. No victimization of the white race. So you ask, Jason, how can they come to us and say that with absolute confidence, with a willingness to literally die, that level of confidence? Because the human animal lives in the anti-white narrative. It only and always lives in a narrative. You probably can't understand this. You don't have to understand it, just like you don't have to understand electricity to make use of it. Muppets. You just have to do what works, all right? Especially you Fuentes followers, the white ones, who are thinking about coming away from that exiguous, bovarous little shit. Schools are obligated to provide evidence of effective recruitment and retention programs, including the offering and acceptance of positions to qualified students, faculty, and staff applicants who are in the school's diversity group. So you wonder why so many institutions are so female and non-white. The number of white females with college level degrees is colossal and skyrocketing all the time. And the ramifications, we'll talk about this whole Western country studied this specific phenomenon and what it means. So we're going to be taking a look at that during the quick news and laughs coming up here soon before our main items today, which you're going to be very interested in. We got Fuentes followers attacking yours truly. We got some of their comments. We have the Duisburg Civil War coming up. Dan Bilzerian and Fuentes facing off. And on the side of Bilzerian, people like Casey Push is over there as well. We got the taboo takes. We got so much to talk about. You don't want to go anywhere. So we have here the entire schools, the staff. Now, what have we seen? When it comes to white males, none of us stick together, except for in this community here. No white male is at an admissions office saying, oh, I really got to bring some white guys in here. Son, you're coming to the universe. You're going to be the best brain surgeon ever. I picked you because you're a white guy. Come on in. Never happens. At the job, no employer ever says you were first on the list because you were a white guy like me. But women, they do it all the time. Hook women up all the time. We see the same thing with non-white communities. Not every single person, not every single woman, but we see the exact same thing. This desire to bring in their own. We watch whole fire departments have a female lesbian installed in a position of power, and then she gets rid of everybody but other female lesbians. We have watched this again and again and again. So what happens when this anti-whiteism discriminates against white males and brings these kind of people in? It is this self-referencing, self-feeding system that continues to white erase everything possible that it can from the institutions. And of course, we saw here starting more than a decade ago now back, where increasingly white females are being discriminated against. Thank God in heaven White females being discriminated against too, a little bit more and a little bit more. Let's throw the cold to that anti-whites. Let's get these bitches thrown out of these institutions so they'll stop knifing white males in the back. This is a requirement that brought about a massive expansion, according to this poster here, of DEI bureaucracy within medical schools. Now, what are the ramifications? We could talk about, there's so many angles for this. The white guy that would have discovered the remedy to this heart ailment, to that lung ailment, to this brain ailment, to this neurological ailment. And yes, your females and your non-whites are not making those discoveries. Yes. We are doing the lion's share, white males, of discoveries, of creations, of etc. Fact, it's my, of course, I'll have to say on YouTube, it's my opinion. You could check it out for yourself whether or not that's the case. So the opportunity cost to the totality of Western civilization. Your loved ones will die because those cures, those procedures that would have been created by white males, had they gotten their education, had they gotten into these medical schools. So when you're standing there and your loved one is dying, or when you are in the bed and you're dying of something that could have been remedied, you can thank anti-whiteism. As the non-whites and female doctors look on and they say, we're sorry, there's nothing in the textbooks. We're sorry, there's not a button that could be pressed by, built by a white man to do this for us. We're sorry, you die, your loved one dies, you lose your leg. Whatever it is, your cancer can't be cured. Whatever it is. What about the opportunity cost to these white males? How many of these guys end up not getting what they've trained for, worked for, have the latent abilities for, the intelligence for, the creativity for, to be able to do more? What happens to them when they get denied again and again and again, and they learn that the world is against them, that there's nothing they can do? They can't be smart enough. Their grades can't be good enough, because the bottom line is that they were born white. And that's where our focus should be. How many of these guys kill themselves? The ultimate white flight. We know for sure. We know for sure. Families aren't started. We'll be taking a look at a study. Families are not started as a consequence of these guys not being able to go out and get a good paying job. They'll figure it out, according to the anti-whites. They'll figure it out for themselves. At every job, that's what's being said. What happens to a white guy that's paid all of his dues to work in a specific field of work, and then can't get any work there and has to go work someplace else? What is his emotional state? How positive or negative is he on the world? How is that going to be communicated to potential partners? How is that going to be communicated to finally when he gets married? How is that going to be communicated to him and to those around him when he has an opportunity to maybe work on a city council or board? He's not going to. He's not even going to be allowed. Look across our counties. Look across our cities. All of these counties, city boards, school boards, etc., are full of the Star Wars cantina. Well, we have this guy, Jamal Johnson, youngest doctorate in Missouri history. Got his, yeah, okay, he can't put a sentence together, but he's still got a doctorate. When he was 21 years of age, can't speak a full sentence, doesn't know the capital of his own state, but he's going to be on the city commission. He's going to be on the board. He's going to be making decisions. And what's going to happen when he's surrounded by a bunch of white females that hate white males, and our girl bosses, our termagant, harridan, shrew bitches? Well, they're going to work with him. We just saw a video just the other day of some county board where all the white females and non-white males, and I think there was one white guy there as well, are all in on a crooked scheme. And some white guy from some lowly department is stepped up and he said, hey, who owns this LLC? Who's behind this? And where is the money going? We know, and I want you to say it here. And they're like, oh, well, this isn't a courthouse. We're not investigating. Make your statement and step down. The corruption is everywhere. This is how the West declines. This is how the West dies. It doesn't just end here, does it? I have over here to my right, your left. Tree Godfather sent me something. How about this little ditty? I'd like to show you this. I couldn't pull it up on this machine, but I'd like to show you this. This is from Illinois, and a squat, non-white looking, kind of Hispanic looking, Caitlin S. Hill has just been brought into the police department. She couldn't wrestle a guinea pig out of its carrot. So what happened to the white guy that was white erased by this? That's what we should be talking about. Gets worse. It's not just because she's non-white and squat and female that a white guy got white erased for her. And maybe you think about how sort of malevolent that is. A white man in his life, white erased. A whole life. And nobody's talking about it but us. Nobody. A taboo grifter will mention it for a moment to go after the taboo of your choice. Do nothing about it whatsoever. So, says, pleased to welcome, the chief says, Caitlin Hill as the newest, Wammock police officer. Caitlin has spent the last 16 weeks at the Southwestern Illinois Police Academy in Belleville, Illinois. Just imagine when she shows up, and I don't know about you all, but if I have a reason to call the police, I want absolute stud white men showing up. I want white guys that could pick my white ass up and run with me from danger. I want white guys that will show up like in Rambo and will take care of the problem for which I called them. I don't want some little squat sombrero wearing woman show up who's not even going to be able to defend herself. How many videos do we got to watch of them not being able to defend themselves? And men that are just watching have to step in to help the female police officer. But she's been training for 16 weeks, Jason. She's got it down. She's good as any man. She's better than a man. Just don't let the men play sports with them or compete academically with them because the men kick the shit out of them. But otherwise, females are better than men. Remember the anti-white mean pathogen? She will now spend the next 10 to 12 weeks in field training. Caitlin is an absolute welcome addition to our police force. Please welcome her to our city police force. We look forward to her dedication and enthusiasm as she pursues her career in her career. So now she has what the white man didn't get, the stud white man that you and I needed, that you want showing up for your loved ones when they need a white male stud to come protect them. So what's going to happen what happens to that white guy? What happens to all of us when she's the one who's going to be showing up? Her dedicated and enthusiasm to her new career. So the white guy, he doesn't get the career. He doesn't get the government job. He doesn't get the good pay, not great pay, but he doesn't get the good pay. He doesn't get the retirement. He doesn't get an opportunity to climb the ladder to prove himself that he's a total epic stud as a police officer protecting the community. What does he get? Who knows? Anti-whites don't care. Taboo grifters, anti-non-whites, they don't give a shit. They can't stop talking about blacks and Jews long enough to care about the white guys that didn't get this job. Don't listen to anybody like that. Enough of these people. The SPLC pays for their strategy. And all of them just conveniently ignored those indictments. They wanted to talk about other things. Where they talked about the SPLC, they didn't talk about the SPLC's indictment of their strategy that they employ. They wanted to talk about other things relative to the SPLC's always been criminal. What do you think? Have they always been criminal? Well, yeah, they've always been criminal, says the anti-Jew. Well, let's move on. No shit, let's move on. What a joke. That's like a company that produces fire retardant clothing for children. And they tell everyone on every commercial all day long, take a look at our fire retardant clothing. It's perfectly safe. And if your child, if your little Bobby or Susie is out in the world and there's a fire, your child will be safe because they wear this fire retardant material that we produce for them. And they talk about their product endlessly. It's on all the commercials. Every time they get together, they're talking about the fire retardant material for children. And then come to find out, some lab does an investigation. Not only does the clothing not retard catching fire or prevent flames from igniting them, it does the opposite. The clothing ignites within feet of any open flame. It immediately ignites. And the news promulgates all over. And then the company wants to talk about the next time they get together in some sort of open forum or with their commercials, they want to talk about how does the increased sales of fire extinguishers undermine the sale of this life-saving clothing. That is a Jew hater 100%. That is an anti-Jew 100%. They don't want to talk about the fact that the SPLC pays for that strategy. So let's find out about Caitlin Hill. Let's find out about her. Not only is she non-white and female, Caitlin Hill has a criminal history of DUI, driving on suspended licenses, reckless driving, and leaving the scene of an accident in 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021, respectively, with the most recent arrest for DUI in 2024, while she was allegedly attending the police academy. She further is reported to be living with a man who was arrested in 2022 for pistol whipping a female, of which Hill was allegedly on scene for that incident. And this is the thing that they white erased white males for. So it's not for the good. It's never been for the good of the community. It's never been for the good of the group to which she belongs, to put their worst in positions of power. It's always and only ever been just to injure the white race. Talk about that, or you're not for white well-being. You're not for white people. So from now on, when you see people prattling on and on, anti-Jew, anti-black, this, just say, oh, I thought this was a space for the well-being of white people. That's not what you are. That's not what, this is what the SPLC pays for. I hope you're getting a fucking check. Because if you're not, what a dipshit. And it doesn't end there. One more thing, then we'll get into our quick news and